I'm going to tell you something, teacher to teacher.
Okay.
And it's something that took me a long time to learn. Just because kids can grasp the words doesn't mean they're ready for the concepts.
Yes.
So it's not a question of appropriate versus inappropriate, but rather, what are we gaining from having them read this book now?
I think they're going to gain a unique understanding of how Jewish men, particularly in their 20s, are this just very specific mix of sexual bravado and extreme self-hatred, and it can be really destructive to the girls they choose to fuck.
Yeah, okay, so maybe it is a question of inappropriate.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Boys Watching Girls. We are just two boys watching HBO's Girls. We are your hosts. I am Joe Welke.
I am Vance.
And today we are talking about Season 5, Episode 2. Overall, this is Episode 44, and it is titled Good Man. It is directed by Lena Dunham, written by Jenny Connor and Lena Dunham. The original air date was February 28th, 2016, to an audience of 533,000 people, 0.533 million. That's a little bit of an uptick from the last episode.
Yeah.
But still not getting to those highs of, season 2 or 3 where they're, like upper eights, kind of hovering around the 700,000.
I'll say like 500,000 now at the time period that this is in. It's pretty good. Like when it was the first season, you're like, okay, that's low because of the time. But I feel like, pulling 500,000 in.
This might have been when like HBO Go and stuff was getting popular. You could just kind of stream them whenever you want.
Yeah, when did the show end? 2017?
I think so.
So this is 2016 right here. That's pretty good. Mm-hmm. That's pretty good numbers if you pull in 500,000. I mean, it's not great, but viable for TV.
It's enough to keep you on TV without getting canceled.
Yeah.
I mean, especially on HBO, they're not expecting major numbers like CBS with NCIS and all that stuff.
So, I mean, if you got people subscribing just for this show, then that's a win.
Yeah, so let's get into this. This is a Marnie and Shoshana-less episode. It's Jessa heavy, Hannah heavy.
Yeah.
And I mean, should we do Jessa's story first?
Yeah. Do you want to do Jessa and then go into Elijah and then blend that into? How do you want to do it?
I think Jessa and then Hannah with a little bit of sprinkling of Elijah and Ray in there.
Okay.
All right. So Jessa is in AA. That's the first we see of her in this episode. And she turns her head and Adam is there. And she's kind of like, oh shit, Adam's here. Does that look away thing like, oh, if I act like I didn't see him, he won't talk to me. And that is not what happened. If you know anything about Adam, he is very forthcoming about his feelings about stuff and wanting to talk about things. So after the AA meeting is over, Jess is about to leave out through the back door. And Adam comes up behind her and grabs her and kind of startles her. And she's like, Jesus Christ, I thought you were a murderer. It's like, murderer in this AA meeting?
Yeah.
Like, so Adam basically wants to talk about the kiss. He goes up to Jess and he's like, hey, we need to talk about what happened. And Jess is trying to avoid it. She's being like, no, we shouldn't have even done that. I think it was stupid that we did that. And Adam's like, why? And she's like, well, because Hannah, she's my friend. And Adam's like, well, she doesn't want to be with me anymore. So we're in the clear. And she's like, no, but kind of like girl code type of shit where it's like, you don't hook up with your friend's ex. But Adam is kind of adamant about pursuing Jessa, it seems.
Yeah, well, she says there's a couple good lines there. He's like, you're hiding behind your accent. And then she says she doesn't want to be shitty anymore or doing shitty stuff. That phase is over. The thing we kind of skipped over Adam's first scene with his sister, which I feel like we need to do that or else we're never going to get back to that.
Yeah, that's true. Totally spaced on that one.
But the thing that really is interesting here is like Adam is still in his giggly phase. Like they're in AA and he like does a cutesy little wave to her, which is so weird, you know? Like it's just so out of character for him.
Yeah, especially for 4 seasons of us looking at Adam being this kind of brooding, dark-ish, but also kind of a weird goofball, but not like a silly goofball. You know what I mean?
And we've seen him in relationships with other women besides Hannah too at this point, and he's never been like that. You know?
Yeah. But yeah, to get to your point about the first scene with Adam, he's with his sister Caroline, who is breastfeeding her baby in her and Laird's apartment. But I was majorly confused because their apartment looks, and it's laid out exactly like Hannah's apartment.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same building.
But it looks exactly like Hannah's apartment. It looks like they just kind of redressed Hannah's apartment to make it Laird's apartment.
Pretty much 100% sure that's exactly what they did. Or maybe not. Maybe they built another set for it just because, you know, Hannah's apartment is going to stay Hannah's apartment. So,
So Caroline is breastfeeding in front of Adam, which is a little odd.
Yeah.
And then, you know, she's talking about bunch of bullshit, really.
Well, I'll say this: breastfeeding in public or around people isn't so odd. It's the fact that it's her brother that's doing it.
Yeah, you know? That's what it was.
Yeah, we get a lot of boobs popping out in this episode.
I know.
Yeah.
So eventually she goes and gives the baby over to Adam, and Adam's kind of like scared of it. He doesn't know how to hold it, and Caroline's like, "I'm gonna go take a shit. Give me 40 minutes. Laird, don't touch the door for 40 minutes. And he's like, yes, dear. So she's going to, 40 minutes.
That's a good solid shit.
I mean, God, what did she eat? Like, I've had diarrhea and I haven't been on the toilet for 40 minutes.
Yeah. I'm just surprised she didn't take a cell phone with her. I don't know what she's going to do in there.
Yeah, just read every instruction.
Yeah.
Read every instruction on the back of every shampoo bottle.
Yeah. That was the old school way, pre-cell phone.
I know, man. I know. I learned so much about how to wash my hair just taking long poops.
Like, rinse and repeat. Okay.
You ever notice that, like, if you don't take your cell phone with you to take a poop, how quickly you poop?
Yeah, you're just trying to get out of there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're just like, this is like solitary confinement. Yep. I gotta get out of here. So she goes to take a shit for 40 minutes, and Adam is kind of playing with the baby. Laird walks over, and he's like, yeah, you know, lady's gotta have her time. And Adam's like, you have any time? And Laird's like, oh, no, I don't deserve time. I didn't have to push a baby through a hole that's right next to my pee hole. And Adam's like, oh, yeah, that sounds rough. And so Laird kind of is looking at Adam and he's like, you know what? You should have one.
Yeah. He's doing the thing that people that have kids immediately do. For some reason, They want everyone else to have kids. I don't get it. I don't get when there's like, you have a kid, like, you should have a kid too. You should, like, It's like if you bought like a PlayStation, you're like, no, you get a PlayStation too. It's like, not like...
Well, I could see the same logic there because if you both have PlayStations, you can play online together.
That
if you both have kids, you can play with the kids together.
But it doesn't even matter if the person's in the same state as you. You know what I mean? They'll just still be like,
that's true.
Every person you talk to that's kidless.
Yeah. So Laird is like, you should have a baby, and Adam's like, maybe I will. And then Laird is like, oh, do you have anything going on in the love department? And Adam is like, actually, have you ever been in a situation where you have feelings for somebody, but it's kind of complicated and you can't really bring it up? And Laird's like, oh yeah, buddy, you're talking to the king of that. Namely with Hannah Horvath. And I was like, what? Yeah. He's like, yeah, it was just like a weird timing thing. Like we were supposed to, you know, maybe be together, but then she told me that she had to have a vagina surgery. So bad timing, you know?
Yeah. Like Adam's look when he hears that, it's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it was definitely a lie, I feel, that Hannah made up to avoid Laird.
But Laird already knew that she was making that stuff up. Like, in previous episodes, he was not under the impression that she was just like, oh, it didn't work out. Like, he knew he was being used.
Yeah.
Like, he's called her out for that.
I like Laird a lot, but I don't know what to make of him. Like, is he stupid or like hates himself or just sad? Like,
yeah, I think he's just trying to do the best he can with being like in his hippie phase, his hippie-ish phase, but also like just being a former addict. Like, I feel like he's just like, any day I'm not relapsing is like good, but he's not like in the Jessa phase of where they're like, oh my God, if I relapse, everything goes to shit. Like, we don't know what he is like if he's like fully like on drugs. And he's a genuinely nice person. So I think he just gets walked on a lot.
Yeah, he seems really good-hearted, you know? But definitely a pushover. When he's like, I don't deserve time. I was like, geez, all right, man.
It's kind of
Caroline.
It's kind of the perfect balance with him and Caroline, though. Like, not for him, like, being there, but, like, if you put those into one person, you get, like, a nice, like, person that can stand up for themselves, but also has empathy.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and then that was the scene that preceded the AA scene. So, sorry to flip that on everybody. Sorry about that. I had a little bit of a space cadet moment.
You just wanted to dive straight into that Adam Jessa rom-com.
Yeah, because I was basically right. It seems like that. But Adam, at the end of that AA scene, they basically kind of conclude that Adam is pushing for them going out, but Jess is saying no. And then Adam's kind of like, well, what if we're like friends and I can just follow you around and stuff? And Jess is like, oh, okay, but we're just friends. It's like,
I know, just like hook up already.
I know.
You know you're gonna do it.
Yeah, I mean, Adam even calls it out. He's like, I know you have feelings for me. Yeah. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I just don't know where these feelings came from.
Well, we're missing 6 months of time, so who knows what could have happened between then and now.
Yeah.
So Jess is like, I have a really busy day and you can tag along, but we're just friends. And Adam's like, cool, all right. So they go to, it looks like Coney Island.
Yeah, I wasn't sure exactly where. Like, I wanted to say it was Coney Island, but it didn't fully look like it. And I don't know. It wasn't that. It didn't look like that Italian festival that happens every summer in Williamsburg. I don't know what it. I don't know what it was exactly. Where exactly?
It looked like some kind of carnival pier situation.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Coney Island just because that's
water?
The only place. No.
Yeah, and it seemed like there was a Ferris wheel that didn't look like it was in a place where, I don't know, but they're at some type of carnival fair type place.
I mean, that Ferris wheel was enormous.
Yeah.
And it like, there was a shot of it in the background. It kind of took up a lot of the skyline. So that's what made me think, maybe Coney Island.
But I don't think Coney Island has that in that placement. I don't know.
That could be. Well, they're at some kind of carnival. Mm-hmm. Let's just say that. And Adam calls her out immediately. He's like, oh, you had such a fucking busy day. You're going to a carnival. Yeah, he's like, nice busy plans, freak.
Yeah.
So she goes up to a carny type guy who is like either, I don't know, the best way to describe him is that he is just a carny. Like, he is a man of all carnival tricks.
He's a magician running a booth, it seems.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. Like, he's the greatest showman.
Yeah. So she goes up to him and he's like doing his carnival barking type stuff. And she's like, I forget the guy's name, but she's like, Harold, where is my $30? Mm-hmm. And he's like, Jessa, we've been through this. And it's like, what is the history between these two people?
I really thought she had like a freelance therapist gig and this guy was skipping out on something. You know what I mean? Like private therapy lessons. I was like, oh, we're going to learn about what Hannah's doing. And she's just going to go around trying to collect money from her deadbeat patients, right? or like clients. And I was like, oh, okay, that'll be interesting.
But to me, it seemed like she was mad that she got conned out of $30 by this guy or something.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I have a busy day. I got to get my money back from this con man Carney. Mm-hmm. And Adam's just along for the ride.
The weirdest part is that Adam is giddy and laughing at this guy's jokes like a school kid.
Yeah, he's loving this dude's like magic tricks and jokes.
You want a mint government and he's got $1 under it or something like, and then he puts like a screwdriver in his nose and he's like,
yeah.
Like I'm like, who is
very
this?
Odd.
Who is this guy?
Yeah, and this is like intercut with like kind of a montage of Adam and Jessa playing a bunch of carnival games. Adam freaking out when he's not winning.
No, that's the Adam I know. Screaming in front of kids because he can't win.
Screaming in front of kids about losing.
The goldfish toss ball in the goldfish bowl or whatever.
And he and Jessa are being so cutesy together. Adam's like holding stuff for her and they're Lady in the Tramping a sandwich. I
hated that part. I was like, what a waste of that sandwich.
Yeah.
That sandwich is impossible to eat like that. So it's just there for like that rom-com-y cuteness.
Yeah, and Jess is like trying to feed it to him, but she's stuffing it in his face so hard
that balls are falling out of it. It's a mess.
Yeah, it was gross. It was nasty.
It wasn't cute. It wasn't like, oh,
it wasn't.
Great.
I mean, if you're a longtime listener of the show, you know that I have an issue with watching people eat on camera, and this might have taken the cake, just because it was like violent. Like Jess is like shoving that sandwich and she's also eating it herself. It's all over her hands. It's kind of like she's smearing it on Adam's face at a certain point.
I was thinking about the person that just sold that to him. That's like right in the background. And that person's like, great, I get to sell them another sandwich because they just wasted this one. Like,
yeah. That's the other thing. Like, what an awkward position for that guy to be in. Like, they didn't walk away from the stand at all. They just start Lady in the Tramping it immediately and then shoving it into each other's face, seemingly. So nasty.
But they're falling in love.
Oh, yeah. So, yeah, they have a good quote-unquote friend date at the carnival pier, and Adam won her a goldfish, it looks like. Mm-hmm. And we do find out later on in the next scene with Adam and Jessa that it was a goldfish, and Adam is just tossing it around haphazardly, throwing it up in the air and catching it. And I was like, what a fucking psychopath.
And I'm like, that's the Adam we know.
Yeah. That was a very Adam thing.
He's still there. He's still in there.
Yeah. So he's throwing it around, and Jess is like, all right, this is where I let off. And Adam's like, all right, I'm going to kiss you goodbye. And she's like, no, we're not kissing. We're just friends. And then he's like, all right, well, here, take your goldfish. And the goldfish is dead, obviously. Mm-hmm. And Jess is like, dude, this is exactly why we can't date. You've been throwing this fucking fish around like an idiot since we got it. And I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, because she says, I would destroy you and you would destroy me. And we would destroy each other, and like something like
the only way that this would end up is with you in a body bag and me pregnant on my way to Mexico.
Yeah, they've been referencing Jessa getting pregnant so much that she's got to have a baby by the end of the show, because like she wanted to have Ace's baby. The beginning of this episode, Adam's like, well, maybe I'll have one. You know, it's like, okay. And now she's referencing again being pregnant at a border. Like she is, it's there.
I mean, even way throwback to season 1.
Oh yeah.
When she had that conversation with Hannah about how she wants to have kids with members of every race or something like that, right?
Yeah. And then but she didn't go to the abortion. But then she didn't have, but then she wasn't pregnant. Yeah.
So this leads to my absolute favorite moment in this episode, is after Adam has been tossing around this thing and Jess is like, look, you idiot, you killed it. Adam just takes the goldfish and just throws it on the ground. He's like, oh man, it's dead. Just like throws it like a candy wrapper, like he's littering.
And you hear it splat and break open like a water balloon.
What?
And you're just like, That is the weirdest thing you can do in front of someone you're trying to hook up with.
Yeah, that seemed like it also didn't fit the overall tone of this show at all. Like that seemed like something from like a Tim and Eric sketch or something.
But like Adam is aggressive, but he's not like heartless. You know what I mean? Like
yeah,
like because even when he notices it's dead, he's like, oh, it's dead. You know, like he seems like, I mean, he's like a mice and menning it where he doesn't like he's Lenny and mice and men where he can't understand that things die. But
yeah, I don't it's like, dude, when I saw him tossing it around, I was like, what the fuck is this?
And yeah, and then he just tosses it over his shoulder like, all right, that's done.
Yeah, it was so weird. It should have had that like stock like like shit breaking.
And
like
the cat scream knocking over a trash can. Yeah. Just all those sounds.
Exactly. Yeah. So they come to the conclusion like, yeah, okay, well, we can be friends and we can never touch. And then they're like, so we can never touch, but can we? And that's kind of like a smash cut to them masturbating next to each other.
Yeah.
And then they're like, don't look. And then they're like, it's not a part of the rules. And they're just like fapping it next to each other.
They go hard on the sound effects here too.
Yeah. And Adam's kind of like trying to sneak a peek, and Jess is like, stop looking. And then Adam's like, fuck this, new rules. And then they're like staring into each other's eyes as they're mutually masturbating. At
that point, they might as well have sex because that's just as bad. That's just as bad. There's no like, oh, we masturbated next to each other, Hannah. It's cool.
Yeah.
Like you might as well just
like Hannah's gonna be cool. Like, no, we set boundaries, Hannah. Yeah. We didn't want you to be upset, so we just masturbate in front of each other.
Yeah. And Hannah's like, oh, cool, yeah, no, that's fine. But maybe she will be fine with it as we see something.
I mean,
earlier.
I mean, Hannah's got a lot of stuff going on in this episode. Yeah. So that's kind of where Jessa and Adam's story ends. You have anything else to add on that?
Masturbating next to each other while looking at each other is the last note I have on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Would you ever do that?
Not wanting to. No. Wouldn't be on my list.
What's a situation where you'd be forced to do that?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, that would not be my thing of like, let's do that. That's fine.
Yeah, when I heard stories of like dudes just whipping their dicks out and like, hey, can I masturbate in front of you? I don't get it. Like that's, I mean it's the Louis there's CK. Something for everybody.
It's the Louis CK.
Yeah, there's something for everybody, I guess, and people are into different things, but I just do not get that one. I would be so self-conscious about it. It's just,
it doesn't seem like it would be enjoyable for the other person.
Yeah.
Or for you. I feel like it defeats the whole purpose of it. I feel like no one can even have fun at that point. Like, you're better off if you guys just went separate places and did that. It's just like,
it's defeating the purpose of being in the same room as this person, you know? But
and just think about like when you're done. Like, what's the finish there? Like, he just like cleans up and walks away.
Yeah, like one person finishes before the other, and they're just like, "All right, come on."
Yeah,
looking at their watch.
Yeah, he's just like, "Should we order food? Like, what? Like, what do you do after that?"
Should we Postmate something while you finish up?
But
yeah,
I mean, it works for the comedic jump and beat, but like, come on, just hook up already too.
Yeah. All right, so let's get into Hannah's thing here. So at the very start of the episode, Hannah's sleeping over at Fran's place, and she hears some rustling going on in the apartment, and Hannah assumes that it is a robber. There's somebody infiltrating their space. And so she's waking Fran up, doing the typical like 1980s sitcom thing of like, hey, there's a bump in the night. Wake you up, wake the man up, you go check it.
You get killed. So once you get killed, then they come in and kill me. Great.
Yeah, exactly. like Bill Burr has that joke. He's like, every time there's a bump in the night, I gotta check it out. Like, yes, he does have a knife, honey.
I feel like Bill Bill Burr has to be like an honorary member of this podcast because he gets brought up way too much.
I know. I always quote him on this show. But anyway, so Fran goes to check it out, and it seems like is it his roommate? I think it's his roommate, right?
Yeah.
So it's his roommate, Jacob, who is kind of having a meltdown, it looks like. He's sweating. He's drawing an outline of his body on the floor and panting. And Fran is kind of like, hey, buddy, what's up? What's going on here? And he's like, I've been noticing changes in my body and I'm growing and I don't think that I should be growing, or I don't know, something's not right. And he's like pulling his skin. He's like, this skin shouldn't be here. I don't know what's happening to me. And Hannah just kind of looks at Fran and whispers. She's like, all right, this guy's crazy. Let's just go back to bed. And then Jacob freaks out even more because he's like, what the fuck did your bitch say about me? Yeah. And Fran's like, whoa. Don't use that kind of language. And he's like, no, this bitch, she fucking called me crazy. I'm not fucking crazy. Blah, blah, blah. And he's freaking out. If I was Hannah, and Hannah stays in the room, at this point, if I was Hannah, I would have left the room.
There are so many things weird about this scene. Like, is there like a wall of beer cans behind them too? Like that are stacked up?
Yeah.
Like, is that their roommate steal where they just pound beers and stack them up? Because that seems like something that Fran wouldn't do, but also could do, you know?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what this guy Jacob is capable of and what he's been doing since he's been freaking out, because he's having a really his mind is broken in this scene.
Can I just say, one, I don't know why we have this scene. Like, honestly, we could have just had the next scene of them eating bagels and just being like, yeah, my roommate's acting weird. You sure I can stay over here? And you're done.
Yeah, thanks for letting me stay. My roommate's being a real weirdo.
Yeah, or they're fuming. Like, anything that, if you need to push them into the place together, it's a way to do it.
Yeah.
They could already just be living together because it's been a 6-month jump. We have never known about this roommate. But whatever.
Yeah.
It's weird that she freaks out that someone's robbing them or something when they have a roommate. Like, when you have roommates and you hear noise, you don't assume. You just assume roommate normally.
I will say this. This is a story from back when I lived in New York and I had a roommate. And I had a girlfriend at the time. And my girlfriend was having a hard time sleeping or something, so she went out into the living room and she was watching TV. And she heard a rustling on our window because we were on the first floor. Mm-hmm. And she heard something like rustling the window. And she looked over and she saw hands trying to get into the window. So she ran into the bedroom and was like, oh my God, Joe, someone's trying to break into your apartment. Joe, someone's trying to break in through the window. And I was like, are you sure? Because I was asleep and I woke up. Are you sure? She's like, yeah, I saw it. I saw hands. Something's going on. So I locked the bedroom door. I called the cops and I was like, somebody's trying to break into my apartment. Then a couple minutes go by and the cops come and they call my phone and they're like, hey, we're here. Actually, no, that's not the order of events. So before the cops call, I sneak out of my bedroom and I have, a weapon. I have like a little knife or something or a baseball bat.
Are you retelling this story so you look more heroic now?
No. I definitely had some kind of something, because I always sleep with, you know how you sleep with like a baseball bat or my sister got me this knife from Morocco that I always have next to my bed just in case some shit goes down. I don't know. Yeah. Do you not have that?
I don't have that. I have, I mentally think, oh, if something happens, what would I grab? But I don't have like a Moroccan knife or a Louisville Slugger.
Yeah. So I grabbed something. I don't remember what, but I go out into the living room and I look outside and it is my roommate who is trying to get in. And I was like, oh my God damn it. So I opened the door and I let him in and it was like he was drunk and he lost his keys. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry, I was trying to get in. And right as he's coming in, the cops show up and they're like, what's going on here? I heard there was a report of somebody trying to break in. And I was like, oh no, it was my roommate. He was drunk. He forgot his keys. My girlfriend kind of assumed that it was a robber, but like everything's fine. Don't worry about it. So the cops leave, and my roommate's like, I can't believe you. You fucking called the cops on me? And I was like, bro, I didn't know it was you. Like, my girlfriend came in and said that somebody was trying to break in, which you were trying to do. He was trying to break in through the window. And like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I don't know. And he never let that go. He was like, I can't believe you fucking called the cops on me.
Yeah.
And like, not in like a jokey, funny way. He's like, I can't believe you called the cops on me.
Yeah.
Like, dude, fucking, go fuck yourself.
I don't know. I just figured like when you have roommates, it's one of those like things where you hear like a noise and you're like, okay, is that something or is it not?
Yeah, because when they come out, Hannah's like, oh, thank God it's just Jacob.
Yeah.
So she knew that he had a roommate.
Yeah, exactly. And he's not making that much noise for New York roommate that is crazy artist for me.
Yeah.
Like it didn't seem like he was running. Like I've seen crazy people in this show. Like that to me was like, all right, just go back to bed. Can you keep it down a little bit? Like,
yeah.
And we don't have any backstory. We don't know this thing. Another thing that got me that I thought was weird is that Hannah calls him crazy to a point where he can hear that. You don't call someone who's acting crazy or having like a breakdown crazy. She of all people should know that. Like,
yeah, dude.
That's why it didn't make any sense.
And after she calls him crazy, he really starts to take some menacing steps towards her. And I was like, oh, Jesus, like this is getting really ugly. And I just didn't know why Hannah stayed in the room. Like I would have left. If I was Hannah, I would have been behind Fran. Been like, hey, protect me.
I love the fact that he like knocks over the chair or something there, and she like goes, and clings to Fran. And she's like, are you okay? He's like, it didn't hit me, but it could have. And then he just rolls his eyes. And I'm like, he has the perfect reactions to her nonsense every time.
Yeah, like that was such a good moment. I'm glad that you remembered that because that was fucking hilarious.
Just the look on his face.
It didn't touch me, but it could have.
Just the look on his face, like, oh God, Hannah.
So then Jacob starts yelling about why is Hannah here, and he can see her bush, and he doesn't want to see her bush. And then Hannah's like, you don't want to see my bush? Fine, I'll cover my bush. And she covers her bush, and her titty pops out.
Yeah, she's just wearing the oversized t-shirt only situation.
Yeah, why would you go out of the room?
If you think of Robert's there, you're going to at least put on like some shorts or something.
Yeah. That's why they say you should never sleep naked because, you know, a robber comes in. You don't want to be fighting him naked, or like a fire. You don't want to have to run out of your, apartment naked or whatever.
But it's like, it's not that hard to grab something and just pull it on. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
So that leads to, it appears that Fran is now staying with Hannah for the time being. Not only Hannah, but Hannah and Elijah, who I forgot lives with Hannah.
If Hannah's there, Elijah's there. Like that's what you have to see.
So yeah, so Fran is kind of like, hey, thanks for letting me stay over. Jacob, I didn't realize he was like off his meds, but he's acting real fucking wild. And Hannah's like, well, you don't have to worry about that here. Elijah's never violent except for when he's drunk. And then Elijah pops out of his room.
Yeah.
And
rocking his tighty whities, but not white tighty whities, but
yeah, striped tighty whities. And he saunters over and he's like, the only rule of this house is you got to keep the fridge stocked with LaCroix or Kmart brand seltzer.
Yeah, I was like, is Kmart brand seltzer a specific type of seltzer?
Well, he even says like where to specifically get the Kmart brand seltzer. And I was like, why do you have to go to that specific?
Which one do you say?
I forget where he said, but it's like it's a very specific Kmart that you have to go to get this seltzer.
The only one I know of is like the one at Astor Place.
There's a Kmart in, I think it was on 34th Street too.
Probably, yeah.
I do like by Madison Square Garden.
Yeah.
I remember that. But it wasn't either of those. It was someone that's kind of it seemed like a far Brooklyn or far Queens or something. So then they're like, all right, we got to go to work. And Fran gets up, Hannah gets up, and then Elijah's like, all right, I'll miss you. Grabs Hannah, and then Hannah and Elijah like passionately kiss for like a good 5 to 8 seconds.
It's an embrace and a kiss, and they're still embraced. It wasn't like a peck on the lips and like I'm out. It was like a hug and like, yeah, like you said, 5 second like smooch. Like,
yeah, and Fran's standing there like, what's happening?
Yeah.
And then they unkiss, and they both look at Fran and they're like, what, we're not supposed to do this just because you're around? And Fran's like, I kind of would like that. And then Elijah's like, well, get used to it, buddy, unless you want to get in on this. This is what goes down here. And I was just like, what a fucking weird relationship.
They say it took us a long time to get to this point. Like, they're just still embraced talking to him. And Hannah's like, no, that's not what I meant. Like, when he tries to, like, imply the threesome thing.
Yeah.
But we skipped over the fact that Elijah says ill about the jobs. And then they're like, don't look at us like that. It's a job. You should try having it. And he's like, I do. I work at Ray's.
Another person working at Ray's all of a sudden. I love it.
Ray just employs these. And they're such bad employees.
I know. When is Ray gonna, like, for as smart and likable as I think Ray is, he keeps making terrible employee decisions.
Not a savvy businessman.
No. Yeah, as soon as Elijah's like, I have a job. I work at Ray's.
We're gonna need Shoshana to come back and co-run this coffee shop and market it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, good Lord. So then we get to Elijah at Ray's, right? Or is this where Hannah's teaching?
Where were we? Hannah. Yeah, I think we go Elijah at Ray's. Yeah.
So Elijah's working at Ray's, and they're kind of peering out the window from the front counter. It's a dead store. There's nobody in there. And what had happened was a new coffee shop has opened up across the street that is taking all of Ray's customers. It's called Helvetica, right?
Yeah. And once I saw that, I was like, is that a real like, because we see that before we see inside his. I was like, is that a real coffee shop? And I was like, that is definitely like a very hipsterous name for a coffee shop.
It seems like a real place, though.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but and Ray calls it out for like what place names himself after a font.
Yeah, and Elijah's kind of like, I mean, yeah, it sucks that they're taking our business, but damn, that coffee is good. And he's drinking a coffee from Helvetica. And Ray's like, what the fuck, dude? Yeah. You can't drink their coffee. You're fraternizing with the enemy.
Yeah.
And Elijah's like, well, it's just good coffee. So Ray's got an issue with it because not only are they stealing his customers and it's competition, but Helvetica for some reason doesn't give their customers lids. Mm-hmm. So all of the customers from Helvetica are coming over across the street to Ray's and stealing Ray's lids. Mm-hmm. And he's pissed about it.
Yeah.
With good reason, I think. I mean, that is kind of douchey.
I'm going to say it's douchey that the customers are stealing his lids.
Yeah.
But that's not Helvetica's fault.
Exactly.
Yeah. Like that doesn't.
He can't.
He can move the lid somewhere else. He can keep him behind the countertop. He can do a lot to prevent them from taking his lids.
Yeah.
Like that's.
He could himself stop giving them lids, or be like, "Would you like a lid?"
Yeah.
With every purchase.
Here's a question: would you rather have a coffee shop? Would you rather have a coffee shop named Helvetica or a coffee shop named Ray's Coffee?
Definitely Ray's.
Okay.
Definitely.
I feel like Helvetica would draw more people in that will buy expensive coffee than Ray's, which, unless you're trying to be ironic with all of Ray's pizzas, Ray's Coffee just seems weird.
I don't know.
Like, name a coffee. How many coffee shops do you know that are like named after, like?
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you're right. Like all the places that I go to out here are not named after a person. Mm-hmm. But there's something. See, like my favorite places are, diners. And something about Ray's seems like very dinery and kind of old school to me.
Yeah, I just don't feel like it's a diner though. Like you're walking into a coffee shop.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely not. But there's a place in LA called Alcove that I go to, but it's like a fancy kind of hipstery coffee place, and it's very, I don't know, it's bougie kind of.
I think for me, Alcove has the appearance of bouginess, but it's not really bougie. Like if you want to bougie, you got to go like West Hollywood and stuff in those coffee shops. Like this one has like, oh, it's outdoor seating and it's like a little brick outside. It's really nice, but it's when you get in there, you're like, oh, it's actually just a small little place. I don't know.
Yeah. The coffee places that I would go to are Alcove, Coffee Commissary, and maybe there's a place by where I live called Republic of Pie, but no named places. Yes. But I would go. I also don't fucking go to places based on their name.
No, I mean, anyway. Yeah, exactly. I'm just saying, like, which one would draw it? Like, I could just see, like, just walking by. If you, like, in Los Feliz, you have to choose the coffee shop because there's, like, 50 of them in, like, 2 blocks. So, yeah. Like...
You have to have a loyalty. What do you have a loyalty?
Well, I like Blue Bottle, which is there, but I don't really have a loyalty for sure. Like, if I go to Alcove, it's because I'm going to actually be there.
Fun little fact for everyone listening: Alcove is the place where Vance and I came up with the idea for this podcast.
Oh yeah, that is true.
So thanks, Alcove.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alcove.
Thanks for fueling
Shout
us.
out. If you're in the LA area and you want some coffee and a good place to hang, also kind of a good date spot, Alcove, I highly recommend.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. It's a great place to have meetings. They have outdoor seating right now, so it's good for this time period. And yeah, it's mostly outdoor seating. So
yeah, shout out Alcove. Yeah, but yeah, I would go to Ray's, I think, over Helvetica.
I do like a lid.
Yeah. Protect the mouth.
I will say this. I will sit inside of Ray's if I was getting a coffee to go. Helvetica would be like that pop in, get a coffee, but also without the lid, it's a little tricky.
See, I feel like Ray's would be better to pop in because there's nobody there because Helvetica is stealing all the customers. Like, I'm not about to, like, I go to, I'll go to places and, you just see these long ass lines outside of places for coffee. And it's like 10 to 20 people deep just waiting for coffee.
Those have to be those pour over only places because a pour over takes a while.
It's a good coffee place in North Hollywood is Boulevard Cafecito. I think it's kind of a chain. Mm-hmm. But welcome to Coffee Talk with Vance and Joe.
Yeah, we're just trying to plug spin-off podcasts right now since we're coming to.
We're going the next after Boys Watching Girls is over. It's going to be boys drinking coffee. Coffee review place. So anyway, get back to the regularly scheduled program. After they establish that Ray is pissed about the lids and doesn't like Helvetica, we get to Hannah teaching in the school, and she's teaching a book by Philip Roth called Goodbye Columbus, which is about classism in the Jewish community and also sex somehow. I haven't read this book. I didn't really look it up or anything.
Haven't read it. Probably won't read it.
Yeah, definitely won't read it on my side.
But yeah, she's teaching a book that's, I don't know, one of those ones that are questionable for kids to be reading.
Yeah, and even one of her students calls her out on it. She's like, this is kind of inappropriate for us to be reading. And Hannah's like, why? She's like, it's about like how to fuck, basically. It's about how to have sex.
Or it was like, it was teaching safe sex, and she said it was like a guide for sex. And I was like, what kid is just going to be like, this is too trashy for us? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah. Also, I need to call out, there is it sounds like a car horn going off in the background of my apartment. So if you hear that, that is what's going on. So while Hannah's having kind of an argument of ideals with her student Nellie about whether she should be teaching this book, a person comes into her classroom and is like, hey, Hannah, you have an emergency call in Principal Toby's office. And Hannah's like, well, who is it? And she's like, I don't know. I couldn't really tell. The man was sobbing. So she's like, oh, I don't know who the fuck this could be. She runs to Principal's office, picks up the phone, and it turns out it's her dad. And her dad is like openly weeping. He is in New York. Now there's 2 car horns honking. Holy shit. Holy shit. What's happening? There's a battle going on outside. So it's her dad. Her dad's in Times Square at the Marriott, and he is going through something. And Hannah's like, I'll be right there. But before she can get right there, Principal Toby calls her into his office and is like, Hannah, we got to talk about your curriculum. I heard that you're teaching Goodbye Columbus to these students. And Hannah's like, yep. And he's like, I feel like that's kind of inappropriate. And gives her counter argument about like, this is why we need to be teaching this, because it's about Jewish men and their sexuality and bravado, but also their self-hatred. And we need to prepare these women, these girls, for, the guys that they're going to fuck later on in life. And the principal's like, yeah, this is definitely inappropriate then. Yeah. Like the worst reasoning.
Yeah. She did not.
Like she could have had an argument. Yeah. She could have had an argument about it, but
I thought it was going to be a deeper argument about like, oh, like the books that get censored and we don't show kids. But if you don't show kids these things, then you're kind of like wiping
they grow
it
up
out
in an echo chamber. Yeah,
there was something to do there, but nope. She
went the route of like, she went the route of like, these girls are going to fuck these guys, so they need to learn.
But this one goes on and it's really interesting. Like, because then she's like, well, I got to leave real quick. My dad's going through this thing. Remember I told you how my dad came out? Like, yeah. And then she's like, well, I think something invasive happened to him. And I need to go check it out. Just have someone checking on my class.
Yeah. And right before she leaves, it seems like Principal Toby might be firing her because he starts off the sentence with like, look, Hannah, I like you. I think you're very smart. And then she cuts him off. She's like, I like you too. I think you're one of the smartest people I've ever met, but I gotta go. And then she just like hurries out the door.
Yeah. I kind of love that.
Yeah.
That's the way to handle that situation. Because this guy is like, he doesn't know how to deal with her.
Yeah, man. It's wild.
Yeah. But I had a thing where like, it's interesting that he had the comment about the book that was being taught. I guess he found out when someone just went to check in on the class or what they were reading.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought he was going to be upset with her for like leaving the class to take that phone call, which I think she had to take because someone came in,
Yeah, and if it's an emergency,
yeah.
Like what is she supposed to do?
Yeah, but I don't think he didn't seem mad at that, but that's what I thought he was going to be mad about.
Yeah. Yeah, how did he find out that they were doing Goodbye Columbus?
I don't know.
Anyway, yeah. So is this the point where Ray goes over to Helvetica, it seems? Or does Hannah go straight to her
this
dad?
Is Helvetica.
So Ray walks on over to Helvetica to check it out, scope out the competition,
Complain, basically.
Complain. Goes up to the guy at the counter and he's like, hey, I don't know if you know this, but I work across the street. I'm your competition. And the guy's like, oh, you work at the Starbucks? And he's like, no, I work at Ray's. And he's like, oh, it's hard to keep track of all these chains. Yeah. I didn't know that Ray's was a chain at this point.
Well, Ray's is part of... Did he say chains?
Grumpy's.
I didn't even pay attention, but like it's part of Grumpy's and all. And he just rattles off a bunch of coffee shop names.
Like, well, yeah, he rattles off a bunch of coffee shop chains because he's like Starbucks, Coffee and Tea Leaf, Pete's Coffee, and then a couple other ones.
Yeah, I don't know if those were all chains, like, because I didn't recognize a lot of those names he was saying. I think he was just talking about coffee shops in this neighborhood. You just said you didn't recognize a bunch of the other ones.
No, I did. I recognize. Well, I can't remember all of them.
You recognize all of them?
Pretty much all of them.
Okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Maybe except for one.
All right.
But so Ray is like, look, I don't care, man. Just your customers are coming over to my place and they're stealing my lids. So what's your beef with lids? Why don't you give them lids? He's like, oh, we don't believe in lids. He's like, fucking give them lids. And then there is a shaved head person in the background that's like making coffee. And she kind of snickers at him, it seems like.
Because Ray's asking them to give lids, and they're like, no. Like he says they're stealing my lids. He's like, oh, that sucks. That's like his response. Yeah. That sucks.
Yeah, he can't. I mean, it's not Helvetica's fault. It's all of the douchey ass customers.
Yeah, exactly.
But Ray definitely wants to let his voice be heard about his,
and who knows if this guy owns the coffee shop. I mean, I guess they kind of have some stake, but like, I hate when people come in and complain to an employee of a company about the company's policy, you know?
Dude, whenever a customer complained at a restaurant, I immediately went to, oh, you want to talk to the manager?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Like, you're not going to yell at me. Yeah. Go fucking yell at the manager if you got a beef. So Ray, the person that's making coffee in the background kind of snickers at Ray, and Ray's like, hey, lady, what's your problem? Or whatever. He says, excuse me, ma'am. I don't know. He says something that is implying that the person is a woman.
Mm-hmm. Oh, no. He says, sir.
Oh, no. Sir. He says, sir. Mm-hmm. And the person turns to Ray, and the person basically gives him did you just assume my gender speech?
Yeah.
Because they identify as a them. Ray's kind of rolling his eyes at it, and the guy that he was just talking to is like, what's your fucking problem, buddy? You just misgendered they, and like, you need to get the fuck out of here with your bullshit. Oh. And Ray's kind of like, what the hell? And I thought that this was a very interesting scene for Lena Dunham to have in this show, because it seems like Lena Dunham would be very like fully in support of the, being able to select your gender pronouns. Mm-hmm. But this scene kind of makes it like kind of a mockery of it. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like those shows that just poke fun of like hipsters and like overly like political correct stuff, but also is the show that like wants to promote that. Because then at the end, because then she just like keeps saying, white man to Ray.
White man. Yeah. And I was waiting. She says white man at him like full of vile vitriol.
And I thought she's a white, they are a white person. The
way to go, Vance. What the fuck is your deal, bro?
I was surprised that he called the person sir, because even then, because I felt like me looking at it, I was like, oh, that's a woman with a shaved head, like just visually looking. And then I was like, okay. Then it became that whole big deal. But then she starts saying the white man, or they keep saying the white man thing.
God, Vance, you cannot keep track of they.
I can't. It's hard when it's they, when it's a singular thing.
I know, just right? Like grammar-wise. It takes some getting used to.
Just grammar-wise.
It takes some getting used to.
And we never get
this podcast. Yeah. Vance, we're canceled. We're canceled.
Well, I just thought Ray was.
We're trying. Everybody listening, we're trying. Yeah. We're trying. Yeah.
It's just the grammatical phrase.
Yeah.
But I thought Ray was gonna like push back and be like, I am white. Like, I thought he was gonna say something instead of just like slowly backing out of the coffee shop and slinking away.
Yeah.
And the main coffee person he's talking to is this comedian Yasser Lester or something. I've seen him in a bunch of stuff, but he's non-white.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was just an interesting. They're just making fun of like Helvetica and this like hipster coffee place and stuff, and I'm like, well, you worked at Grumpy's. Like, you've been in Brooklyn this whole time. Like, this should not shock you, Ray. Like, that's what got me. I'm like, why are you shocked by this?
Yeah. So, I thought that was a very interesting inclusion in this episode. So then we get to Hannah goes to find out where her dad is. She visits his hotel room. The dad is sobbing on the bed, literally sobbing, because I had closed captions on and the closed caption said, parentheses, sobbing.
I might say whimpering.
Oh, yeah, that's a good one, too. Yeah. So she comes into the room and she's basically trying to figure out what happened to her dad. She just wants to make sure that he's okay, and he's having a hard time getting it out. But eventually he confesses that he met a man online after Googling gay. He found a website called gay.com, which is a dating site. And he met a man through gay.com, and he came down to New York to meet him. And Hannah's basically like, oh my God, Dad, what the fuck happened? Are you okay? And the dad's like, yeah, I mean, I went to go meet him, and he didn't look anything like his pictures. And I left my wallet at his place. And he's bawling his eyes out.
Yeah, I loved Hannah's reaction to like, what? You left your wallet?
Yeah.
That's it? Like, and he kind of
Yeah,
implies
like,
oh,
just
when
cancel.
I took my pants off, like I must have fallen out or something like that.
Yeah.
And he also says the guy didn't look like what he looked like. The apartment was small. It was purple everywhere.
Yeah, he said his couch was purple, and he just kept harping on that. Like, it was so purple.
Yeah, and it took a while to really dive into like what's really going on with the dad here. You know, like he just had his first like full on experience, and it's just not. It's just a lot for him to deal with, right? But to unpack this, he went to gay.com looking for gay porn, which doesn't seem like something he'd do since he admitted that he looked at a lot of gay porn before. So I feel like he knows how to access it. 2, calling your daughter to do this seems unnecessary. You definitely call Elijah. Elijah's your go-to, like right away.
Also, why go all the way to New York?
That was going to be my third point. What are you doing? Like, there are gay people in Michigan. There are gay people in states next to Michigan, cities, towns. Like, you came all the way to New York for this.
Yeah. And it wasn't like he was planning a trip to visit Hannah. Like, this is a surprise, because Hannah, when she gets on the phone with him, she's like, where are you? Yeah. He's like, I'm in New York. Like,
I get it for the show's purpose. Logistically, not so much.
Yeah. And it's like, as we see later when we visit this gentleman that her dad hooks up with, you know, Elijah, one of his points about being gay in Michigan was like, oh, the gays in Michigan must be ugly as fuck. But the guy that her dad meets up with, not really like a looker, it seems, you know?
He just seemed like a dude. Like, I mean, I wasn't like, oh my God, this guy's a hideous person that catfished the hell out of you. I was like, that seems about right for their age bracket. And like, I feel like I've seen that actor.
It seemed appropriate.
Like, I wasn't like, oh my God, that's hideous. Like, and he seemed.
Yeah, I feel like he could have definitely found that guy in Michigan.
Yeah. But no, he was catfished, so we don't know what picture the guy sent him or whatever.
Very true.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically this is to set up that the dad wants Hannah to go to get his wallet back. And Hannah's like, what the fuck? I don't want to go to the guy's house who you just hooked up with. Like, what the fuck out of here?
This is everything Hannah said she didn't want to have to deal with her dad. Now she's dealing with it like 100%. Not only is your dad hooking up with men now, you're going to now meet this guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So they go over to the guy's apartment. His name is Keith. Hannah walks up and she's like, you know, she's exacerbated. She's annoyed that she has to deal with this, it seems like, because, you know, it's awkward as hell. And she's just annoyed that her dad kind of pulled her out of her life to go on this mission. Mm-hmm. So she knocks on the door. Keith answers and she's like, hey, what's up? My dad just hooked up with you. He left his wallet here, so came to get the wallet. And Keith is like, oh, okay. All right, yeah, come on in. Gives her the wallet. And he's like, hey, tell your dad that I found his name on his ID and I added him on Facebook. So if he wants to connect, we can connect on there. And, you know, tell him I said hi. And Hannah's like, you seem like a very lovely man, Keith. Like, she came into this very ice cold, but she's warming up to him. Yeah. Because he does seem like a sweet dude.
One thing, there's some stuff to unpack. One, she's speaking full volume in the hallway about this guy's gay relationship with his dad. Where I'm like, hopefully he's just like out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like where
hopefully she didn't like force
like she's
him
yelling
out,
full volume about him hooking up with her dad. Then they go to the apartment. Didn't think the apartment was that small.
Yeah, the apartment looked nice. I didn't see the purple couch
didn't
either.
see purple everywhere. Cute little dog, little Chihuahua dog in there.
Yeah. Hannah makes a comment about that. She's like, your dog is really cute. It's like a fucking toy. It should be in a catalog. Yeah. And Keith is kind of like, thank you.
She did the thing that is always weird. I was like, oh, so what do you do? You know, like, that doesn't define this person. Like, whatever its job is. Like, it's such a weird thing.
You don't need to make small talk with this guy either.
No, but it's like,
you got the wallet, get out.
Like, and he's like, I do boot fixing or whatever.
Yeah, he's a boot dealer, boot maker.
Yeah. And I'm like, okay. It's like, what if he said he was a barista? Like, what if he said he owned? Like, what do you gain from knowing like what he does at all at this point?
He also does offer her a special discount for his boots.
Oh, she's gonna.
And I was like, that's very nice, thank you.
She's definitely gonna take that up. I thought it was interesting that he had the wallet in the bedroom nightstand. Because they walk all the way into the bedroom.
You know what? Hold on. Before we get here, I don't think that the guy is out because he kind of hides the fact that the dad hooked up because he was like, yeah, your dad came in and we just kind of kissed. And Hannah's like, my dad said that his pants were off. So you definitely did way more than just kiss.
I don't think that's him hiding that he's out. I think that's him being like, I don't want to tell this guy's daughter what we did. More so than
that's true.
Like you wouldn't be you wouldn't be like, I'm not out, but I'm just gonna say I kissed your dad. That would be enough to like she knows her dad came over for that reason.
So at the end of the scene, they come to the conclusion that they are both very sweet people. Keith is like, you seem like a very nice young lady. And Hannah's like, you seem like a nice guy too. And then they hug awkwardly. And then Hannah dips.
And that's the moment where I realized, like, okay, this isn't about the guy. It wasn't like some crazy traumatic, oh, I met some random guy and he was horrible. Like how he says is him dealing with coming face to face with who he is now. You know? Yeah.
And also, again, we didn't see the photos, so maybe he catfished him hard.
Yeah, but even if you got catfished hard, you can leave the place. Like that guy wasn't.
That's true.
It wasn't like that guy was. I don't know. I don't picture that guy as being the like, oh no, you're gonna stay here because you flew to. Like, no, you could probably just leave.
Yeah.
You know? He didn't lie and be like, oh, I don't know about any wallet. Like he could have done that, you know. Like it's he didn't seem like this awful person that the dad was saying, you know.
Yeah, I agree. So then, you know, Hannah and her dad are. Oh, wait, we missed a very, very important thing. While Hannah is at the hotel with her dad, her mom calls.
Yeah.
And Hannah looks at the phone and she sees that it's the mom calling. And she says to her dad, like, where does mom think you are? And the dad's like, she thinks I'm at Uncle Jeff's. And Hannah's like, Jesus fucking Christ. So she answers the phone. The mom is like, hey, Hannah, what's going on? Where have you been? I've been trying to call you. Hannah's like, I've been at work and now I'm with dad. And she's like, where's dad? She's like, he's in New York. He met a man on the internet. And the mom is like, oh, interesting. Tell your dad, are you in the same room as him? And Hannah goes, yeah. She's like, tell your dad that I want a fucking divorce. And then Hannah hangs up and she hides that. She doesn't say that to her dad. So after she gets the wallet.
It's interesting in that scene when you see the mom, she's like dressed a little less mommy, a little more black and like she's smoking. Like she's definitely going through the like phases of divorce level, transitioning out of it. Also, why was she calling Hannah all day?
Yeah, I mean, she knows, or quote unquote knows, that her dad is at Uncle Jeff's.
Yeah, it wasn't like she was like, I've been trying to reach you all day. I'm like, wait, what were you trying to reach her about? Like, what's the pressing issue? Like, and I thought it was crazy that Hannah just like completely just didn't lie for her dad and just said he was here.
Yeah, she sells him out hard,
but saved the uncle though from having to lie about where he was.
True. Yeah. Very true. So after they get the wallet, I'm glad that we remembered that because that's an important part in this next scene. After we get the wallet, they are at dinner together and the dad is trying to make small talk with Hannah, being like, so how's Fran? She's like, I don't want to fucking talk about Fran right now. Like, the dad's like, no, I think we should talk about Fran. Like, he seems like such a nice guy and I hope you don't lose him. And Hannah's like, why does everybody think that I'm going to fucking lose this guy? Like, he's a pair of keys. Like, I'm not going to lose him. It's fine. Yeah. She's like, I'm just still trying to deal with the fact that you are hooking up with a guy and I just had to go meet him and get your wallet. And she finds out that the dad had unprotected sex with Keith.
Yeah, because she makes a joke about barebacking some guy in a hotel room or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, and then the dad kind of looks at her like, uh-oh. Yeah. And Hannah's like, are you serious? You didn't wear a fucking condom? And the dad's like, I didn't need to think about that for so long. I forgot about condoms.
Yeah.
Seems very unlike her father.
But also, he's been married for, 30 years or whatever?
Yeah.
And he just flew to New York to hook up with someone he met on the internet. Like, he's not thinking 100% clearly. And I think, and that's stuff that he's dealing with. He's dealing with, that he did that he kind of cheated on his wife, technically still. All those feelings are going through. And I'm like, okay, I get it. I can get behind that.
Yeah. So after Hannah realizes that he had unprotected sex with Keith, she's like, you don't even know this guy. This is a stranger from the internet. You just had unprotected sex. I was like, what are you fucking thinking, Dad? And he's like, I don't know. And then tries to change the subject, I think. And he's like, so what did your mom call about earlier? And then Hannah drops the bomb. She's like, Mom called and she said that she wants a fucking divorce from you.
Does she tell him that right there before she calls Elijah? Okay.
Yeah. Because I think so anyway. But I mean, even if that order is mixed up, it's not really the biggest thing in the world. But she tells the dad, the mom wants a divorce.
Oh yeah, it's after she calls Elijah.
Okay. So she calls Elijah and is like, hey, I need you to come down. I'm having a gay emergency with my dad. And Elijah's at Ray's. And he's like, I gotta leave. And then Ray's like, you can't just fucking leave. That's not how work works.
And I'm like, what? He's just sitting there grinding coffee, by himself,
in the dark, alone.
And Ray's still there for some reason.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even know if he's grinding, because in the earlier scene, he mentioned he's going to buy beans from Helvetica and grind them himself.
Yeah.
Ray's. So who knows what this guy's doing? But he's like, Hannah's got a gay dad emergency. So I got to leave. Worst employees ever.
So, yeah, absolutely. So then this is where Hannah tells the dad that the mom wants a divorce. And the dad is... I gotta take issue with the dad is somehow aghast and shocked.
Yeah.
Are you fucking serious, dude? I'm surprised this didn't happen a long time ago.
This guy's unraveling. And also, yeah, it's been 7 months, maybe 8 at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wild.
Yeah.
Absolutely wild. Yeah. That the dad thought that this wasn't a possibility.
Because Hannah says, he's like, I guess I'm gonna fly back to Michigan tomorrow. And she's like, where are you going to stay? And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Mom wants a divorce. You're not,
you're not welcome back home, dude. And he's like, what? Are you serious?
It's this weird,
yes, dude.
It's this weird thing where his world is changing, but he's got the Hannah thing where he's not realizing that it affects someone else too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, dude, her life is completely upside down now.
Yeah.
And you just
Elijah,
you just had your daughter go to your hookup to get your wallet. That's weird.
I mean, that's weird as fuck and awkward, man.
That's weird even if it was a heterosexual couple. So, yeah.
Yes. So then Elijah's on his way. He goes outside the window of the restaurant where Hannah and her dad are. And he looks inside and sees the both of them crying their eyes out.
Bawling.
And he goes, oh, hell no, and just keeps walking.
Now that's my favorite moment of the episode.
He says, "Oh hell no, Cosette" or something. I didn't get that reference.
Yeah, I just was like, he's not going in there.
Yeah. So he keeps walking. He walks down the street to a bar, and he's just sitting at this bar and looking at the menu. And the bartender brings him a drink, and he's like, "Oh, I didn't order this." And the bartender's like, "I know, that guy ordered it for you." And he turns and he looks, and it's a famous news personality, apparently, named Dill Harcourt.
Yes, being played by Corey Stoll from, you will know him from the villain in the first Ant-Man movie. He's in House of Cards, and he's also in a show that's so bad it's good called The Strain that was on FX. It's like this weird vampire.
I remember that show.
Guillermo del Toro comic turned show. It's so good bad. The show is a mess. But yeah, it's definitely, if you need to binge something casual, yeah.
So Elijah's kind of freaking out that this guy bought him a drink because he's like, "I get all of my news from that guy." And the bartender's like, "I know, me too. This is fucking nuts. Dill Harcourt just got you a drink." So the bartender walks away. Dill Harcourt slides on in. And he's like, "Hey, fancy evening we're having here, isn't it?" And they kind of start having a little flirtatious kind of date situation, like little banter going back and forth. Elijah can't believe it's happening. And, a little voice crack there.
Well, puberty happens at all ages.
Maybe I'm just so happy for Elijah.
Elijah is dressed so out of place for this bar, too. Like, it's upscale. Everyone's kind of, some people are wearing suits, like button downs, and he's wearing this, like, hoodie.
He's wearing like a floral hoodie. Yeah. Everyone else in the place has at least, a suit with no tie.
Would he be, is it fuckboy? Like, is he because this news guy would be like the sugar daddy, but would he be like the sugar baby of this situation? Like, Elijah looks like something that's not like, he does
not fit in.
Yeah, he looks like a person that would come to that bar to hook up with the men that have money or something. I don't know. It's just like the way, just the wardrobing, costuming right there.
Yeah, and I mean, it's especially apparent in the next scene where they both are walking out of the bar, and Elijah's just got like kind of dirty jeans and that hoodie on, and Dill Harcourt's in a full suit and tie, looking very sharp, very clean shaven. Elijah's not clean shaven at all. And they come out laughing, and they're like, "Well, this is a good time." And then Dill Harcourt gives him a kiss on the cheek. Elijah's like, "Well, I'm going downtown." And Dill Harcourt goes, "Well, I'm going uptown. So I guess I'll see you later." Gets into a limo.
Like a SUV, black SUV with his driver just waiting for him.
Yeah, gives him a fist bump. They explode it. Gets in the car, starts rolling away, and Elijah's kicking himself. He's like, "What the fuck? I'm going downtown? What an idiot. I'm a fucking asshole." And then the car stops, and Dill Harcourt rolls down his window and extends one of his business cards to Elijah. And he's like, "Hey, give me a call sometime. I'd really like to see you again." And Elijah takes it, and then he's very smitten. He's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. This is so awesome." Yeah. And then Harcourt drives away. And then we go back to Hannah and her dad walking down the street. And the dad's like, "What's up?"
What do you think? How do you think it goes with the driver of that car when he's like, "Hey, pull up half, like 2 feet so I can give him my card"? Like, what does that guy say?
Let him sink in to his decision of not fucking Dill Harcourt.
Like, you're the driver. You're like, "Okay, I'm about to pull off and drive this guy home." And he's like, wait. Slowly creep up next to him so I can get the card.
Let's watch him cuss at himself and kick himself for not fucking.
Let him do the rom-com walk away, talk to himself.
Yeah.
I was still waiting for Elijah to be like, "Oh no, I can go uptown and hop in the car,"
Yeah, that's what I was expecting to happen too. But instead, I don't know. Do you think that this relationship's going to go anywhere?
Yeah, I feel like he'll definitely be in at least another episode.
Do you think that he's going to last more than, let's say, over under 3.5?
I'll give. What are we on? 2 episodes in? I'll give. Man, over or under? I'll do under.
Over under 3.5 for Dill Harcourt.
I'm going to go under 3.5 because I would think 3 exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but Elijah has to have something to do, and maybe he can see him kiss Hannah and freak out too.
Yeah, and then Dill Harcourt and Fran kiss, and then it's just a bloody orgy.
Yeah, and I don't know how many people are rooting for that, but yeah.
Yep. So then we go back to Hannah and her dad walking down the street, and the dad's kind of looking in shock, and he's just got like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And Hannah says, don't worry about it. I'm here for you. And that's where we wrap up the episode.
Yeah.
What'd you think about this episode as a whole, Vance?
It's good. Solid episode. Solid. Like,
interesting developments.
Yeah, I would have loved to see a little more. I feel like the Ray stuff was just there just to be kind of funny and just to show that Elijah works at Ray's now.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe Dill Harcourt is going to get into cahoots with Ray and maybe either try to sabotage his political career or further his political career.
Oh, I wasn't even thinking about the crossover of that, but yeah. He could, yeah, that's a good point. Ray would have issues probably with he's a news reporter. He's a news reporter, not a politician, right?
Yeah, he's a news guy.
Yeah. Maybe Ray will use that news poll.
Use the platform.
Yeah. Like all of a sudden they're just talking about coffee wars instead of real wars.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he could just have that guy come to his coffee shop and probably do a little more, get a little pub.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. The Adam stuff. Yeah, we're just riding that. It's happening.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I feel like called it. Would you consider this them hooking up? Would you say that my prediction was right?
If this happened between Marnie and Adam, I would 100% count it. So yeah. I was thinking the other day, even if Adam had a dream sequence where he hooked up with Marnie, I would count it. Or vice versa. I would count it. It would count towards my prediction. I was like, nope, I called it.
Yeah, so that is the episode. Before we sign off, I feel like we got to shout out one of our listeners sent. So we've had the thing about not knowing the layout of Shoshana's apartment up until this season because now she's in Japan. And we were always confused about what the fuck is up with the apartment. Like we're always confused about the layout. One of our listeners actually emailed in and sent an article from the designer of the sets for Girls with the layout of Shoshana's apartment to try and illuminate what we're always confused about. So we want to send a thank you to that. I forget the name. I'm so sorry. Do you remember, Vance?
Let's find out because we should know. It was Devin.
Devin, thank you so much for sending that email. I have to say, after looking at that apartment sketch and floor plan, I still have no idea about that apartment.
Yeah.
That apartment just still makes no sense to me. It's like a fun house.
When you look at the other episodes, you're like, wait, the couch is in the middle, but this drawing, the couch is against the wall. And like, where's the kitchen? And where was that scene where Jessa was sleeping with the guy and she was hiding in the closet? She was sleeping with the guy hanging out the window. There's so many. And I'm sure like this article is from like the early seasons too. So I'm sure it probably changed up a bit, but yeah.
It also looked like in the floor plan, just in one corner, it just looked like there was a pile of clothes.
Yeah.
I was like, what is that?
I wasn't sure what the I wasn't sure what the air shaft for the building part was.
Yeah. But I do, definitely thank you for sending that in. That's awesome that, that information was out there. So
yeah, I'll share that on Facebook and possibly in the show notes. So yeah, so everyone else can check
Instagram out, page, our Instagram page probably too. Boys Watching Girls Podcast. Anything else?
No. Let's get to our predictions for next episode.
All right. Well, Vance, I believe that we're going to have an interesting episode in the next one because season 5, episode 3 is titled Japan.
I was actually hoping that we would get this type of episode. This.
You think it's
this? Because I feel like you have.
It's obviously going to be Shoshana centric.
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be an all Shoshana all the time episode?
I think probably 75%. I would think 75%, unless it's Shoshana coming back and just telling him about Japan. But if we're here, I feel like this is the episode. It's kind of like the Iowa stuff where like we're there in Iowa and we're just showing everything that happened so we can just get her back in New York, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Well, all right, guys. Thanks for listening. Give us a 5-star review on Apple. Follow us on Instagram at BoysWatchingGirlsPodcast. Like our Facebook page. If you want to email in, it's BoysWatchingGirlsPodcast@gmail.com. Yes, thanks for listening, and stay tuned for next week when we talk about the episode Japan.